This episode is brought to you by Portland Distro. If you like underground music, movies, and more, go to portlanddistro.com for licensed merch, vinyl, CDs, and more. Plug in the discount code 10OFF, TENOFF, for a 10% discount at portlanddistro.com. What's up, friends? Hope everything's going well for everyone. This episode is a crossover episode. Anyone who's been listening to this show for any amount of time knows that we've got people that we believe in, that we try to support. Of course, I'm talking about Into the Necrosphere and the Horror Wolf podcast. On this episode, welcome Brandon Legion, my brother, host of the Horror Wolf 666 podcast. This episode is dedicated to our top David Lynch films, a director and filmmaker that we have both admired and has had a huge impact on us. Also, I just wanted to bring up the Patreon. If you want to further support the podcast, you can join for as little as $1 a month, and that gives you access to bonus content. If you want to join up at $5 a month, that gives you access to bonus content as well as advance access of all of the episodes. If you want to do a sponsorship, you can promote your business, band, project, whatever. For $25 a month, I give you a custom ad read, and we're all happy. And of course, all these things are subject to change. You can join for as little as a month. You can cancel. You can rejoin. You can not join. Whatever you guys want. So how's things going, man? Everything all right?
Oh, yeah, everything's going pretty good. I ended up watching The Last Drive-In last night, the final episode of the season. And it's kind of depressing because the season's already fucking over.
Yeah.
You know? But they went off with a bang, man. They did Uncle Sam, which is not a good film at all, but it's a fun film, and it's like a perfect film for Joe Bob, you know, to do his critiques and stuff on. So that was cool. And then they ended it last night with fucking Nightbreed, the director's cut, which is one of my favorite films of all time. So
yeah, I watched that as well, man. Like I always watch it live when I'm able to. I missed, the 4 episodes or that when I was out on tour, and I'm watching those now too. But yeah, dude, I you never know what the second, any of the movies are. So I was kind of, I was like, yeah, man, Uncle Sam, the movie kind of sucks, whatever. But it was cool. It was worth listening to his critiques and, interludes, which made it interesting. And then when I saw that he was doing the director's cut of Nightbreed, I was like, hell yeah. That was a strong way to end the season for sure.
yeah, most definitely. For most of Uncle Sam being that such a kind of cheesy ass movie, but fun. But I do the live Twitter tweets when Friday comes around. Like there's you hashtag The Last Drive-In on there, and everybody's like connected like a giant group.
Uh-huh.
So it's kind of like a big mystery science theater type thing. We're all making fun of the fucking movie and stuff, and even Darcy's on there. Like,
wow.
yeah, a bunch of people, a bunch of the staff's on there from The Last Drive-In. Like, shit, Felissa Rose is on there a lot. There's a lot of people like celebrity wise and stuff, and it's a lot of fun. And we were really like getting on that movie last night because that kid that was in there, like the main actor kid, he was so fucking horrible.
Yeah, he was pretty bad for sure, man. But yeah, dude, I always get bummed when the last episode shows up, but they'll be back. I read that they were confirmed for another season, which is great.
Yeah, thankfully, season 5 is confirmed. So, and I hope, which they usually do every year, anyways. But I hope they do some specials, like maybe a Halloween special or another Thanksgiving special.
You can always count on those for sure.
I think my favorite Last Drive-In episode, marathon, was the Thanksgiving one they did. I think in like season 1, or it might have been before they actually started doing the seasons. When he first started coming back. It was with Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It was like 8 movies in a row or something like that. It was so fucking good.
Yeah, I remember that one. That was awesome. Like, it's funny. During the pandemic, man, that was like a lifeline, man. I mean, I was a huge fan before that, but when we were all locked down and nothing was going on, like those Friday nights were like totally something to look forward to, which kind of kept me going during all that.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It was super special during those crazy ass times. And also for me, I don't like dealing with people in person too much. I have social anxiety pretty bad, and I don't like being around big groups unless I'm playing a show or I'm out working or doing something. So like having that connection, even as via like social media, when that show does come on with other people, I think that's really cool and helps me out a bunch.
Yeah, totally. I think was it last week they had The Habit, which is a movie I know that you and I have talked about as like when they did the L.A. versus New York independent film like theme on the show.
Yeah, dude, The Habit's so fucking good. I went back and re-rated it. I had it like at an 8 out of 10. Now it's like a 9 out of 10 after the rewatch with Joe Bob. It's so fucking good.
It just, yeah, I forgot. I mean, I love that movie, but I forgot how much I loved it until I watched it again. And also, they had Larry Fessenden was on as a guest and having his, discussion of how no one was paid up front when they made it. And just like the whole like DIY, like kind of punk rock vibe that dude has, it was really, really cool.
Yeah, and I love the way it looks too, like old school New York, dirty and fucking, as he was saying in there, pretty violent at that time. So
And there's also just these little details, like going to a party in someone's apartment, and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning, and this dude's like playing guitar and stuff. You know what I mean? Through an amp, and
mhm.
yeah, just like little weird things. And when he goes to the deli, and he's like, "The guy stole my money right out of my pockets. Like, give me two coffees, and I'll pay you tomorrow." Just stuff like that was like so like very much like right on the money with things.
Yeah, totally. I've been to New York a few times, and they don't look nothing like it used to look. That's for sure. It's cleaned up a bunch, but I like the way like the old school New York looks, especially film wise. It looks grimy and fucking dangerous.
Well, not for nothing. New York is there. It has its moments, man. These days, even before like the pandemic, I work in Midtown. Well, I guess I don't work in Midtown anymore, but I worked in Midtown for years, and I remember those beginning late 2019, 2020, thinking about how things are changing and getting worse, and there's like it feels dangerous again, and not like I'm romanticizing danger, but I'm like, wow, this feels like the late '80s, or the '90s now, with this onslaught of people with like mental illness living on the streets in Midtown, and now after all the stuff that we've been through, there is like a very sketchy vibe in the city these days, but it's like that plus all of the gentrification. It's like it's a weird atmosphere right now in New York.
Hmm. I think that the sketchiest place I've been in a while, I guess, comparing to New York, would be Louisiana. Was it last year? It was in New Orleans, down by the French Quarter.
Yeah.
That place is interesting, man. Like, there's there's a big homeless problem down there, and they all kind of like migrate down into like the center square. I can't remember what the hell you call it, but they're all down in this like middle area and stuff, like by a park. And it's nuts, man. Like people trying to grab you and stuff. I think I'd rather deal with that over the sports fans that are super drunk down there and fucking doing stupid shit. I cannot stand all that crap. So
Oh
that was
yeah.
kind of like hell for a little bit for me. That's not a place for a person like me to be. So
What really took a big hit was the West Coast, man. I mean, I hadn't been on the West Coast since the last time we toured over there before the pandemic, and just last month we were over there. L.A., San Francisco, Portland especially, and Seattle were just like, it was almost some like Mad Max shit. You know what I mean? It was just like these weird roving groups of homeless people. In Portland particularly, man. Like I know it's like very easy to beat up on Portland. But I've never really been a big fan of the Northwest anyway. Really, but. Not for any particular reason. It's just not my kind of cities, Portland and Seattle. The states themselves are beautiful, like the wilderness, and the Puget Sound in Washington State's beautiful, and like just the natural beauty of those regions are great, but the cities, not really my thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
But this time we played at this place called Dante's, which I think is in this area that it's known for being just kind of like a rundown part of town. And it was just like, I really didn't feel safe. I have to be honest, man. Like I felt like someone was going to break into the van at any minute. I felt like people were going to like attack me at some point. And I saw some guy get beat up on the street, you know what I mean? And it was like,
Wow.
I'm like, man, we got to get the hell out of here, man. This is like a bad scene, you know? And L.A. is like all the things that people have been telling me, man. It's like, yeah, when you go, you know, you always hear these stories especially people from New York about Los Angeles. And most of those people haven't even ever been there before, you know? It's like, yeah, you know, people are like, you know, camping in the streets and, you know, it's this like, you know, cesspool of humanity. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, right? For the most part, that's true, man. I hate to say it, but it's like, man, there were just like people camped out on the sidewalk, and like you go into a Starbucks and there's like some dudes in the toilet for like, you know, an hour, and it's just not good. You know what I mean? And not to get on, you know, not to sound like I agree with any of these right wing assholes, but yeah, something definitely has to be done on the West Coast, in California in particular.
Yeah, that's definitely a serious problem for sure, you know.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, man. It's really cool that we have this little cartel of podcasts, which we've all been talking about it. It's like basically you know, us being Everything Went Black and Horror Wolf 666. We got our brother Jackie Into the Necrosphere, and also my other podcast, Necromaniacs. And the coolest thing about it is that Necro and Horror Wolf are both horror podcasts, yet we can exist together because their shows are a little bit different. You know what I mean? Like Necro is more about you know, critical analysis of films, specific films. You know, and Horror Wolf is more about just interviews, which is like a totally different trip, and it's allows both of us to not interfere with each other's things and really support each other. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, dude, I think it's fucking really sweet, man. I like our brotherhood of the podcast. What we call ourselves? The podcast Horsemen of the podcast.
Yeah, there you go.
Apocalypse. There you go. It's a bit of a tongue twister, but yeah, I think it's fucking badass, man. Like, I love all our podcasts that we do, and I just like the, you know, the community that we're building and stuff. I just think it's cool helping each other out and stuff.
And it pretty much provides entertainment every day of the week, you know, which is kind of cool, you know.
Yeah, I'm set with all y'all's podcasts. I'm good to go. I just throw in like an audiobook in between there. Like I'll be doing an audiobook, then this y'all's podcast, and I'm good for the week. I'm set, and it's all like good, positive things, you know.
Hell yeah. So what we end up doing a lot is we end up doing these like lists of like favorite stuff. And this particular episode, we're going to be doing Lynch films, and which is interesting because David Lynch is you can put him within the horror genre, yet he's not a strict horror filmmaker, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what are your thoughts on that? Like, how do you classify David Lynch?
Well, I definitely put him in the horror genre.
Okay.
I think what he does is more like kind of like nightmare stuff. It's like the shit I dream about, you know, some of my nightmares. It's more like dreamy type horror, you know. It's not your classical like monsters or, you know, slashers or nothing really like that. It's something different. It's more like I would classify as like, you know, nightmare horror, you know. This is shit I fucking fear the most.
Yeah, I haven't really put a lot of thought into that. It just dawned on me. I was like, yeah, you know, they don't really talk about him that much in horror circles, really. You know, like he's not like a John Carpenter or, you know, or a Ty West or something like that. You know, he gets referenced a lot when people are discussing other films. Like they'll point out that this particular piece has influences from like Twin Peaks or, you know, Eraserhead or something like that. But I've never actually pondered how he fits into the whole trip, you know. But pretty much all of his movies, with maybe a couple of exceptions, and I'm going to point those out on our list here, have horror, very distinct horror elements to it, but not all of them, which is interesting.
Right. Yeah, he's something totally different, I think. I mean, there's nobody else like David Lynch. I mean, there could be some people trying to be like David Lynch, but yeah, he's his own thing, and I just find his stuff like it really gets down deep inside of like gets underneath your skin, shit you don't forget. That's horrific to me. So
Yeah. Okay, so we got our list,
yes,
top 6.
yeah,
And
top 6.
yeah, I'm imagining that we're probably going to have a lot of, overlaps of films.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So you're, being the guest, why don't you kick it off with number 6?
All right. Yeah, we're definitely gonna have some overlaps, but I'm curious to see where we place these in our top 6. So
And we put this together as like in order. Like, this is not like, okay, these are 6 great movies. These are what we consider to be his top 6 best films in the in this sort of discussion that we're having.
yeah, and also I cheated a little bit. There's one in there that's a TV series, but everybody should know what the hell I'm talking about there. So I did cheat with that because I consider that like
Spoiler
best
alert.
work.
Spoiler
Yeah.
alert.
I won't tell you where it's at.
Oh, hey, all right.
All right, so my number 6 is 1986 Blue Velvet, and for some reason I thought this was a fucking 90s film in my head. The way it looks and all, it's like going back and seeing that was like made back in 1986 is kind of mind blowing. It feels 90s to me for some reason.
Oh, it's way ahead
But
of its time, man. Definitely.
it is, and the thing about this film that really got me, it's also super dark. I call this a horror movie. You can call it a thriller, kind of like a drama or whatever, but it's definitely got some horror elements going on. It's super dark, and Dennis Hopper's character is fucking unforgettable, terrifying, actually.
I got a personal story about Blue Velvet, which I've told this before in different places and made references to it, but I'm gonna tell it real quick again. When I went to college at Boston University, my freshman year, I remember I showed up, and there's no campus there. You're just kind of like in the city, and there's all these buildings. And there's a particular movie theater called the Nickelodeon Theater, and they have classes during the day. Like, I had calculus there, I had physics class in the theater. Right? It's funny, right? There's like a movie theater. Right. So. And then at some point in the evening, like around 6 o'clock, I guess, it becomes a theater open to the public, and you can watch movies there. And, during the day, I was like, this is weird. I'm not, never seen anything like this before. I'm 18 years old, so I haven't seen anything really. There's movie posters. I noticed there was like a, ticket place, popcorn, that kind of stuff. And it's like, am I in the right place? This is where I have calculus, So... They were showing Blue Velvet there, and so I'm like, oh, this looks cool. I heard about this movie. It's kind of like this small town kind of thing, like crime, like stuff I'm into. And I remember right around that time, I was like trying to hang out with this girl, and and I was like, let's go to the movies. So she's like, okay. What do you want to see? Oh, there's this movie Blue Velvet playing at the Nickelodeon. And I'm thinking, yeah, we just walk down. We're both living in the dorms at this time. So, yeah, we just meet up, walk down, check out the movie, and whatever. So we go into the movie theater and we sit down. It's pretty full. And that first scene with Isabella Rossellini and Dennis Hopper, and she just was like, she tapped out after that. She's like, I don't want to watch the rest of this movie. So we left. All right. So that was my first attempt to go in to see Blue Velvet. Now, this is the precedent that followed me pretty much through the rest of my life, I think. It was like, I ended up just going by myself and just watching it alone and really able to absorb it, because even though I was horrified by the movie at first, because I'd never seen anything like that, I was like, you know what, man, there's something about this that just digs inside of me, and just I want to know what the rest of the film was like. So I went, got a ticket, and checked it out, and been a huge fan ever since. So like I guess Blue Velvet is my entry point into David Lynch's work.
It's a great entry point for sure. Like, it's everything good about David Lynch in, one fucking film. Like, it's dark. It's just it's so weird, just like all his other work. It's just super weird and cerebral. So good.
Great characters in that, you know. You got
Yeah,
yeah, Dean Stockwell is in that. Of course, Isabel Rossellini, Laura Dern, the great Kyle MacLachlan. You know.
and also Dean Stockwell from uh, from his Scott Bakula show back in the day. What was the hell? A Quantum Leap.
Oh yeah, definitely,
Yeah,
man. That
I
was
just
awesome.
love Quantum Leap, man, and seeing him in something besides like Quantum Leap, or playing a more of a serious, creepy ass role, I think, in this one. So it was cool seeing that. Great cast, so like you said, like the cast is stacked. I mean, it's all like A-listers, awesome actors and actresses and stuff. So
Another thing about that movie too, which maybe is because the age that I was at when I saw it and like the background I have, because I come from a small town and I wasn't grown in. I didn't grow up in the city. I grew up in like a town called Carmel, which is like an hour north of New York City. And
uh,
it was like it had a like a greater metropolitan area vibe, but it was definitely a small town and it wasn't dangerous per se. There was no real crime, but there were things on the fringes of that life that it seemed like every now and then you would see something in the periphery or you'd read about something in the news that happened in the town, and you'd be like, I wonder if there's like this underbelly to this idyllic sort of existence out here. And I guess like Blue Velvet really awakened that sensibility that I have about small towns, and there just always being some creepy shit going on there.
and it's most of the time true, man. Like, we got this South Carolina or whatever. It may look all like, oh, move to South Carolina. It's bright and sunny. People are nice down here, but there's some dark shit going underneath here. I mean, just look on the news, like a lot of shit you see, like serial killer wise, or like fucking. There's this one dude that like killed his whole family. I think for like the insurance or some kind of shit, some kind of crazy thing going on. It's in the court cases right now, and I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but a lot of weird shit goes on down here in South Carolina. Like, it's got a really dark underbelly. I don't think people know about.
Yeah, another thing that this film like maybe re-examined too was like in my hometown. There was, like I said, it's nice. It's like middle class, no real issues in anything. Mostly a big Italian American and Irish population there. The banks, shopping centers, things like that. But there was this one place that was like one of these hotel you can rent by like the week or something like that, like one of these like weekly hotel spots. And I was like, I would be with my parents or my mom or something driving to the grocery store, and I'd drive by it with her, and I would be looking at it thinking like, that's not like it's not like a Motel 6 or like a Red Roof Inn or something like that. It's like just some random like Starlight hotel, and there'd just be people living there, and like these like drifter types. And that, after watching Blue Velvet, I kind of re-examined that fringe, population that was living in my town. I'm like, man, I wonder what kind of shit these guys got into.
Yeah, we got some places like that around here too. Like, people just live in these hotels or whatever, and it's odd. And usually the people that live there, stranger than usual. That's for sure.
Yeah. So my number 6 was 1977's Eraserhead, and
Nice.
I actually saw this after watching Blue Velvet. Because I mean, that movie was like super fringe. Like no one really saw this movie unless it was like on a VHS tape, really. And
But
I do remember being in high school. I was playing in a band, and we were, kind of like we weren't good enough to play metal, so we were playing punk style music. You know what I mean? So, but we were playing this show in Poughkeepsie New York, with these metal bands, and this one dude, I can't remember the name of the band, but I remember they had a song called "Dagger Through Your Heart." And I thought that was really cool when the singer announced the song. He's like, "This next song is called Dagger Through Your Heart." And that sticks out in my head for some reason. And the guitar player had like a blazer on, and underneath the blazer he had an Eraserhead t-shirt. And that was my first awareness of the movie, and I was just like, Eraserhead, like what the fuck is that? So the bass player in the band, he was like, more hip to like film and artsy stuff, because he ended up going to art school after high school, so he was like more in that world than I was necessarily, of like interesting films and books and all this stuff. Big influence on me, by the way. And he was like, "Oh yeah, it's a movie. You should check it out, man. It's crazy. We should watch it one night, we never did. But after seeing Blue Velvet, I did some reading on it, and probably in a film review they mentioned Eraserhead, and that's where I'm in Boston at this point. There's all these places you can rent videos and whatnot, and rent a VHS player and watch it and that kind of thing. So that's how I saw Blue Velvet, and I was just like completely. I didn't even think that films could be made like this. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I'm only 18 at this time. I thought it was pretty cool. I have a Black Flag record. I've been to New York City. I've seen all these things, and like, but this completely blew my mind and rearranged it into a way to access information that is being put out in this movie, and totally changed the way I see things. And it's very, very intense film.
Yeah, it's super intense. I remember the first time watching this one. I was late to the game on watching this. I think I was in my like late teens, maybe early 20s for the first time. And I was like, oh, Razorhead. I've been seeing shit about Razorhead for years now. I never watched it. So finally sat down and checked it out and stuff. I was like, oh man, it was almost painful in parts. It's just like such an overload, sensory overload, and it's hard to explain. It's more of an experience than actual like film. But it's one you never forget, that's for sure.
Yeah, and the black and white, and it just feels like you're peeking into a completely different universe. And what comes to mind is like when I was in high school, like I read like Franz Kafka and like all this stuff, and it reminded me of that kind of weird reality that Kafka's books take place in. And I don't know if that's on point or not, but that's my take on it.
Yeah, no, I think you definitely nail it with that take for sure. Also, another thing about Eraserhead, which it didn't make my list. I'm going to tell you that now. It didn't make my list.
Okay.
It was close with Blue Velvet. Like it was like between those two, and I chose Blue Velvet. But with the Eraserhead, like it has that industrial feel to it as well.
Yep.
Like super industrial feeling. Like it captures that time pretty well too when it came out. I think it's a hell of a movie. Also very nightmarish. Like everything about that film is very nightmarish. It's like, where the hell did he get this shit from? Probably his dreams.
Yeah, there's some deep subconscious stuff going on in all of his films, I think.
Yeah, no doubt. That's for sure. All right, so we're going to get down to my number 5. All right, this should be a pretty good one for most people here. They've probably seen it. It's one of his more popular titles, but it was 1992's Twin Peaks: Fire Walk with Me.
That's an outstanding film. Yes.
Oh, so good. This is what kind of got me to get back on my Twin Peaks TV series journey. It's from the actual movie itself. And the movie is super dark. I love the music, the soundtrack. This one of the films that got me on like synth type music. Something different than metal. More synthy, but like the opening fucking the title track is fucking haunting. Stays with you forever and stuff. And yeah, Cheryl Lee. I mean, I still have a crush on her forever.
Oh, yeah.
Like oh my god, the whole cast, Ray Wise, they're all just great, and this is. It's a different take from the TV series as well too. So if you've seen this and you watched, first 2 seasons at least, like it's a totally different take on that, but it's still the same, But I really love the actual movie Fire Walk with Me. So
that did not make my top 6, but it was hard coming up with the top 6 just because I love so much of his work. I like all of his things. Everything I ever seen by David Lynch, I love. you know. And this one didn't make my top 6, but I have deep appreciation for that movie for sure.
Yeah, and also with this one too, there's a pretty cool, pretty fast cameo with David Bowie. I was like, oh, that's
Yes.
fucking cool as shit, man.
That's like one of my favorite parts of the movie, actually. I mean, you know, I'm a huge Bowie fan anyway, but that's when he pops in and pops out, and it's like, was he actually ever really here? You know, that was so great, man.
Again, going back to like the whole dream logic type stuff there, that's totally like dream stuff. Like you can, like with me, I'll be dreaming one thing, like, oh, I'm hanging out with this person in a dream, and I turn around and look at him, a totally different person. You know, it's total fucking dream stuff, and I love that. You know, really makes you think and kind of just takes you away. You know, like maybe to another dimension or you know something weird where all this shit takes place as. It's so like fucking so good. You know, and they list this one as horror actually on Internet Movie Database. So this is like the first one I've come in contact with on app that actually says horror on the top. So that's another interesting little fact about that. But
yeah, definitely. Yeah. We also got Chris Isaac in there too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, playing the FBI agent. I forgot his name, but that dude.
I think he was he kind of disappeared in there too. He like appeared and kind of disappeared and turned into somebody else, if I'm not mistaken.
That's a big theme that carries on is like people becoming other people and transitioning between realities and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love that aspect of you know what David Lynch does with that with Twin Peaks. Super strange, and yeah, this is just one of my favorites. I love it. I watch at least once a year. So yeah, Twin Peaks Firewalk with Me is a great one.
Also, you know, also you and I are both musicians, and like titles and words, like I just love the way that sounds. Firewalk with Me. What the fuck does it mean though? That's the thing, man. It's like there's so many different ways you can dig into that title, and it's almost like this like a song lyric or something. I love it.
Another thing that's kind of on topic, but more with the music side is the band you got me into, Bambara. To me, like Twin Peaks and Bambara, like especially this film here, they go together so fucking well. It's like they could play in this universe.
Well, yeah, man. I had Reed on, the singer, as a guest, like probably a couple of years ago at this point. Doesn't seem like that long, and that dude is like, he's a young guy, but he's like an old soul, man. That guy is like so heavily into all this cool like literature and movies, and you know he seems like Nick Cave or something like that when you speak with him, man. So for sure they would fit in the David Lynch world, man.
Yeah, that was the interview that got me into this band. I was like, I got to check this out. What y'all were talking about, they really like drew my interest and stuff. And I checked the band out, and I've been a fan ever since. I love everything they do.
Yeah. So my number 5, excuse me, is 1990's Wild at Heart.
Nice. Yeah, that's on my list too.
Yeah, based on the novel by Gary Gifford. And I've never read the book, but I love the movie. And it's got a pretty all-star cast, man. You got Nicolas Cage as Sailor Ripley, which is a great name.
Yeah.
The beautiful Laura Dern as Lula. That's also the daughter. Her mom is in this film too, Diane Ladd. So Diane Ladd is in the film. She's the daughter of Diane Ladd and Bruce Dern. You know, so
I did not know that.
Yeah, she's like within the acting Hollywood world. The sublime Willem Dafoe, always a treat when he's in a film, man. That guy is like just always never disappoints me when I see him in a movie.
Oh yeah, agree. Totally agree.
We got Isabella Rossellini returns, Diane Ladd, of course, who I mentioned, and Harry Dean Stanton, who's he's also a recurring guy that shows up in a lot of Lynch's films, and he's was around forever. Been in tons of films. Definitely has like this vibe when he's on screen. Harry Dean Stanton, and he's got more of a central role in Wild at Heart. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a fine actor, man. I love all the stuff he's in as well.
So you said you have this on your list too?
Yeah, this one's going to be under my Number 4.
Oh wow. Okay. So yeah, let's go there. We'll discuss it together then. All right. Cool.
Yeah, like everything. I agree with everything you say about Wild at Heart, man. And William Dafoe's character is like steals the show for me. But besides Nick Cage, I'm a huge Nick Cage fan. But man, William Dafoe's character is fucking pretty brutal, man.
Bobby Peru.
Yeah,
That's a
yeah.
great name too, man. He's like Bobby Peru, like the country.
Such a wild film, man. It's all over the place. It's hard to categorize what this is. I definitely see some horror elements in it. People say it's thriller, crime, the normal stuff. But again, with David Lynch, it's hard to like pinpoint just like what one genre that he's in. He kind of does it all. But this one has some really dark shit going on with it.
Once again, like a movie. This might have been one of the first films that I had such like an emotional roller coaster with the film, because there are parts of it which are like super like romantic and road trip, two young kids in love, crazy kids like driving across the country, and then just like the darkest stuff ever that you see in a film, like such a contrast, and that becomes like a mainstay in a lot of his films.
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, that's kind of like a trademark thing for him. Also with this film here, I don't know if you know, I guess it's probably connected more with the books, which I've never read, but this film goes along with the really, really killer film. If you've never seen it before, came out in 1997, Perdita Durango.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that.
Oh, dude, I think it's on Tubi. It was it's either Tubi or Amazon. Like it usually it pops up on there time to time. But just as Wild at Heart, and it ties in together. I think with the character Perdita Durango, I think she there's a connection there, I guess, via the books or whatever.
Huh.
But dude, this one's wild as fuck, man. It's got a good cast. It's got Javier Bardem, who's playing like this cult leader, black magic dude, and there's some cannibalism in there, some ritualistic stuff. It's a great one. I think it was rated NC-17 when it first came out and stuff. Like it's a really good one. I highly recommend that one to tie in with Wild at Heart.
Well, who made that movie?
Perdita Durango.
Yeah.
That was actually someone as we all probably know in the like horror movies. It's Alex de la Iglesia.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Alex de la Iglesia. There you go.
Why haven't I seen this movie? It sounds great.
Oh, it's fucking really cool, man. Like, highly recommend checking that one out. And like I said, I think Tubi has it. Let me double check here real quick. I just seen it streaming somewhere. Well, right now it's on AMC Plus. So if you have AMC Plus, it's on there.
I'm gonna look into this, man, for sure.
I want to say Shudder had it at one time too, because there's some horror shit going on in this one. Like I say, it gets wild with the black magic stuff and all, man.
Well, Javier Bardem is great, man. I love that guy. That guy's an incredible actor, man.
He is, and he plays a part in here you probably never seen him playing before, like super flamboyant, like not the regular like quiet kind of strong type. He's total opposite in this one. Really cool role for him though.
Right on, man. So, all right, so that's your number 4, right?
Yeah, that was my number 4.
All right, so my number 4, and this is the one film that doesn't have any horror elements in it. It's The Straight Story from 1999.
Okay, cool.
A lot of people haven't even seen this movie. And,
I don't know if I've seen that movie.
Yeah, it's a very small cast. It's got Harry Dean Stanton comes back. It's got Sissy Spacek in it, and the main star of the film is this guy Richard Farnsworth, who passed away shortly after the film was made. It's a very simple. It's rated G. It's G rated. And It's about these two brothers. They've been estranged from each other, and the character played by Richard Farnsworth travels on a lawnmower across the country to mend the fence between them and reestablish their relationship. And it's just like it's a road movie, but it's on a lawnmower instead of like some sick Mustang or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds wild. I don't think I've ever seen that one. I thought I saw all of David Lynch's stuff, so that's one I need to check out. Do you know if it's streaming anywhere off the top of your head, or?
I'm not sure. It's probably. I mean, you could probably rent it somewhere. I don't know if it's like on Tubi or anything like that. I have like a VHS, like a dubbed VHS copy of it that back when I used to. I'll say we were dating this lady who was a film editor. That she worked in. Well, actually, she wasn't an editor. She was a script writer, and she was involved in film and making films, and she was like real knowledgeable about all this stuff, and she turned me on to this. And the copy that I have is a dub of hers, and that's like she's like, oh, you like David Lynch, you ever see The Straight Story? And I'm like, no. And she's like, well, what the hell kind of fan are you if you haven't seen this movie? So yeah, that's how I got turned on to the movie, and ever since then it's been something that stuck with me as being some of his finest work, in my opinion.
Nice. Okay, cool. I'm gonna try to hunt that one down this weekend. I'm on a 4-day vacation, I guess you would say. So I'm gonna have
Hell yeah.
to try that
Nice.
one.
Yeah, definitely check it out. Like once again, I said there's no violence, there's no creepy stuff, it's just a straight up movie. I guess the straight story. There you go. It's all in the title.
Right. Yeah. Well, he did that with Dune too, so he definitely can pull that off. I think.
Yeah, master filmmaker as demonstrated by the straight story.
Killer. All right. Cool. That is definitely on my top list to check out. All right. So I guess we're down to my number three. And this is going to be I almost ranked this one higher, but the other two this is a hard one to rank up there, but it's high on my list. It's 2001's Mulholland Drive.
Oh yeah, man. That's on my list too, man. That's a masterpiece, man. I heard that was supposed to actually be a TV series.
Oh, that would have been killer too.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. Oh, go on. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, it's fine. I mean, back in those days, because that came out like 2001 or something.
Yeah, 2000.
We weren't in this renaissance of shows where it's kind of like a free for all, like the Wild West with TV shows now, where anything goes. So I imagine if this had become a television show, it would have either had to have been on like HBO, and even then, it wasn't even HBO. Even wasn't like, there was not the Wire. There was maybe Oz was on in the beginnings of The Sopranos, so that wasn't even like a gimme either. So yeah, who knows? Maybe to try to put this on network television at that point would have been like incredible, man.
Yeah, that would be killer, and I think it would have worked on HBO. I think it would have. I think it'd be a pretty. It'd been a hit for sure. Like, David Lynch fans would love that. I wish it would have turned into a TV series, but the film itself is, like you said, it's a masterpiece.
Great cast once again. We got Justin Theroux, we got Naomi Watts, Laura Elena Herring, and the late Robert Forster's in that too.
Yeah, I love Robert Forster, man. Like, it was sad when he died. It's always sad when all these celebrities you look up to, or not really, necessarily look up to, but or from your childhood and stuff, they start passing and stuff. It's always sad.
Oh, didn't you have a guest that was in this film?
Yeah, that's what I was about to tell you here. Yeah, I got the chance to talk with Bonnie Aarons, who you might know plays the nun from the Conjuring series and stuff, but she also played a part in here, a very small part, but a part that's never left my mind. I think it's one of the scariest scenes in any film ever, and it's the scene when they're sitting in the diner. And they're talking about, what if there's somebody, this out back, this standing there looking at you. I can feel like their eyes on me, kind of shit like that. They're talking about like some kind of weird nightmare type shit. And she appears dressed as this like horrendous looking like bum, but it doesn't look like a bum to me. It looks more like some type of creature, and she's only in the film for like maybe 10 seconds, but the way it's done and the way it was shot is just absolutely terrifying.
That's like an iconic scene, really, in that film. And the funny thing about it is that it has almost nothing to do. I mean, I can't even connect it to the actual story, really. It's just in there,
Yeah, yeah, it has nothing to do with the main story. It's just something like it's like holy shit, and it's done, and you don't hear nothing else of it again. But she made an impact with that role, and she says she loved working with Dave Lynch too because I got to talk to her a little bit about it and stuff, and told her how much I thought it was killer that she was in that film, and you scared the shit out of me as a kid, as a teenager actually. So,
Yeah,
and
that's one of my favorite points of the film. I mean, it takes place in a diner, which has like always been, I love diners, and the way that they describe, the way that he describes his dream, where he's like, it's in the half light or half night or something like that, like this kind of cool like reference to early evening or that kind of thing. I always love the dialogue in David Lynch's films, and the guy is, I guess it's like his therapist, which is in and of itself, that's funny that he's meeting with his therapist at like a Denny's or something. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
it's like, oh, I'll tell you what, let's go out and check it out. And yeah, it's just so fucking intense, man.
Yeah, I never forget that scene. Like a lot of people are like that too. I tweeted something about it before, and like you'd be surprised how many people were traumatized from that scene, and still, they still feel that trauma.
Also, the guy who's I want to use a politically correct term, the little guy from Twin Peaks.
Oh yeah, yeah. What's his name? I just saw it. Michael J. Anderson.
Yes, he's in Mulholland Drive as some kind of executive, behind the scenes dude. But they're using forced perspective to make him like an actual sized person as opposed to a little person.
Yeah, I remember that's super super weird and trippy, right?
Yeah, there's also another great scene with these guys from New York these mobsters, and the whole espresso scene and all that. It just
Oh
like
yeah, yeah.
kills me. He's like, I think you'll love this. It just, oh man, it's so good.
Yeah, it's such an oddball movie, just like all those other films. It's so memorable and like, yeah, it's a great film. I love it. And also going back to Bonnie Aarons or whatever, like from the character she plays, like the nun, all these like horror characters. She's like one of the nicest people I've ever talked to. Super fucking cool. And just her heads up there. If you ever get to like meet her at like a con or something like that, she is fucking awesome.
Yeah, that interview was great, man. It's I love some of these people turn out to be way different than I thought they would be in person. That when you interview them, it's cool.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lot different. Like you go in thinking that there could be one way, it totally turned out to be somewhere, another way, which is usually for the best. Like especially when I was talking with Mick Garris and stuff. That he was everything I thought he was gonna be, so he lived up to it. And, like it was fucking great, just really down to earth. And
Dude,
yeah,
that is like such a high point, man. I love Mick Garris. I listen to his podcast every week, and he's just one of these guys. He's like this wizard or something who's seen so much and has so much knowledge about the film industry and the horror film industry, and specifically, but in general, just about making films. Sounds like a really really cool guy.
oh yeah, he totally is, man. And he's constantly sharing stuff. Like he's always promoting his stuff. He shares my stuff sometimes. Like he's always working, and he is the true master of horror in my eyes. Like he's the top of the mountain. Like he's just, and he's so fucking down to earth and so goddamn nice, man. It's awesome, man.
Yeah, he's out there, and cons are back, and maybe someday I'll meet that guy and say I heard you on Horror Wolf 666.
Oh, that would be cool. Yeah, yeah. Hopefully, like, oh yeah, yeah, Horror 666. Like, oh, I don't know who the hell that is.
So excuse me, security,
Yeah,
remove this man. I get thrown out
yeah.
because I approach him and look him in the eyes or something like that.
I got
That's
now.
a
I gotta
thing,
try to get.
man. That's a thing. Like apparently, some Hollywood types and rock stars or whatever, you're not allowed to look them in the eye when you are around them.
Yeah, I've heard horror stories about that. That's fucking crazy, right?
Oh yeah, man, it's
The hell.
insane.
Yeah, hopefully I don't come in contact with one of those types, doing the interviews. But so far, everything's been really good with that. I haven't, had to encounter anybody like, in that kind of way. So that's good. Hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah. So my number three we already talked about. It's 1986's Blue Velvet, and I think I told my Blue Velvet story. Not going to tell it again, at least not in the same episode. And so we can move on to, we're coming down to the wire now with our number twos.
Yeah, number two, I guess it'd be my turn here. And like I said earlier, I kind of cheated and had to throw in a TV show because this show, like, it's one of my favorite shows of all time, and that's 1990. The first two seasons are my favorite. The last season they did, doesn't rank with these two, so I'm counting just the first two seasons of Twin Peaks.
Yep. Okay.
I mean, I just I was kind of like raised around Twin Peaks. I think my aunt and my grandma got me into this, because 1990, I was probably like 6 or 7 or so back then. But I just remember it came on regular television. We didn't have cable or nothing like that. We had antennas and like 4 stations. Or this is one of the shows that came on one of the 4 stations, man. And even back then, being as young as I was, it still made an impact on me. I was like, oh, this is so fucking cool. But as I've grown older, I've really come to like have a better appreciation of it. It's so well done. Like the music, the way it looks, the storyline, everything's just so fucking weird and trippy and stuff. I just love it. And like right when I go back and watch it now, it's like transport me back into a different time, maybe a different place that's similar to this place, but not this place. You know what I mean? Like something else. It just takes me there.
I didn't watch it on TV either because, I should say I didn't watch it on TV. I was out of the house at that point and living on my own, and there was we didn't have TV. We didn't have like cable, or we just had like a television that had like one channel, and really didn't watch a lot of television throughout the 90s. And so without the internet, it'd be really easy to miss things like that, to not even know that they existed. So I didn't even really watch X-Files on television. I started X-Files like much later, but occasionally there'd be someone that I knew with a television, and I would be at their place and, oh yeah, Twin Peaks. And it's like, wow, this looks fucking incredible, man. But I didn't really catch up to it until probably like 1999 maybe, or 2000. And that's when it started really. I loved all of his films. Like I seen his films in the theater whenever they came out, but I got into Twin Peaks like late, but I got obsessed with it, because it's one of those things you get obsessed with, and it's my favorite. Episode 2, season 1, where we have the guy in the dream. We go into the Black Lodge, I guess, with the weird tiled floor. Dale Cooper has his dream, so good. The end, the little guy's dancing. There's like that monologue about, fire walk with me and the guy with one arm and all that kind of stuff. So good, man.
It is, man. Like, even like before the actual show starts, the theme song, which that theme song inspired me, to start doing like keyboard stuff, because I've always been a guitar player, I've always done metal and stuff, but what was it, a couple years ago now, like I started fucking around with like synths and stuff like that, and the theme song by the great let me pull up his name before I can get it right here. The theme song by the great Angelo Badalamenti. Hopefully I didn't butcher it too bad there. But that song there, and like and Laura's song too, like really got me into like wanting to mess around with synth stuff and keyboard stuff, and and now I'm gonna hopefully have an album out this year. Just small like Bandcamp shit, but probably just digital. But this was a huge inspiration for me.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know you and I have discussed synth before. And that's awesome, man. When several years ago on tour, we actually visited some of the sites there in Washington that were used in Twin Peaks, like the waterfall. Mm-hmm. We went there, took a bunch of pictures, and then we also went to the diner. That's like a well-known location, and I got like a bunch of, dude, I spent like, I don't know, like $100 on like swag when I went there, because I got T-shirts and mugs and all that kind of stuff that you can imagine.
Nice.
Yeah. So took pictures in front of it, like all that, all that fun stuff.
That's killer, man. Yeah. Hopefully one day I can make it out that way that, get to see some of this stuff. Like, because Twin Peaks it made a big impression on me. And like, even now, like I was saying with the synth stuff and just going back and rewatching episodes now, just takes me back, takes me back to the 90s, which I'm not saying the 90s were great. There's a lot of shit going on, but it was less apocalyptic than the times we live now, you know?
Dude, I think
So,
the '90s were great, man. I wish it was still the '90s, to be honest, man. It's like there's a lot of cool music. Like death metal just started. There was some great black metal coming out. There was we weren't trying to kill each other as much, except I mean, Timothy McVeigh, blew up that building, but that was like an unusual thing. That wasn't like a mainstream stuff, like that
right.
kind of thought. You know what I mean?
Now we get that shit like every week, and it's fucking horrible. It's
Yeah,
like, like
totally.
transport me back to the 90s. So, watching Twin Peaks, then watching X-Files and finishing off like some Seinfeld or something, man, it's like the perfect like time machine to take me back to the 90s, even if it's for like a couple hours or so. I forget all this shit that we're going through right now.
No, totally, bro. Totally.
Yeah. But yeah, Twin Peaks is, yeah, I have nothing bad to say about it whatsoever. It's just one of the best shows ever made.
What are your thoughts about the last season that came out a couple of years ago?
It's interesting. I've only went through it once, but I want to revisit it and stuff. It doesn't have the same feeling as the original first two seasons. It doesn't have that. It's still kind of dreamy, but it doesn't have like that dark and dream quality like the first two. It don't do as much as the original did it for me.
Yeah, I really liked it. I've only went through it once, but I have rewatched certain episodes. But I think it's time to do a whole maybe this winter because it seems like that's like a snowy Saturday thing to do is like watch the entire show from the beginning to the end. And I think the way it wrapped up was kind of perfect, really. Like you don't. What do you expect from David Lynch? He's not going to wrap things up nicely. And
No,
okay, here it is, the story. Everyone lives happily ever after. Blah blah blah. This and that. It's going to be some off kilter, completely random. Not random, but this completely obscure like thing, which you're going to have to think about. That's exactly how you wrap up something like that.
yeah, and I mean that's David Lynch for you, man. He kind of challenges you. He doesn't just throw it all out there for you.
I kind of dug the musical endings, like the special music guests that they had at the end of every episode.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah,
got
no, no,
I got turned on
that's
to certain bands like the Chromatics. Like I'd only heard about them, and then they were on the end of the first episode. They had that song Shadow, and
uh-huh.
like I'd been aware of them, but I never really dug into their music until I saw them on Twin Peaks, and then I became like a bigger fan.
That's killer. Yeah, like I said, the music and stuff from Twin Peaks, like finding like the different bands and stuff, like so much good shit that goes along with Twin Peaks. A lot of positive things.
So my number two is Mulholland Drive, which we already
Nice.
talked about, and that's I think it's a masterpiece. Just it's those it that was almost my number one actually. But there's certain things about the movie that I picked that just kind of put it over the top, and so it was really a toss up between my number one and my number two.
I'm pretty sure me and you had the same number one. Thinking.
Yeah, I'm through the process of elimination. I think you're right, actually. So yeah, so
Yeah.
let's unveil it.
All right, number one, my all-time favorite David Lynch film is 1997's Lost Highway.
Ladies and
It's
gentlemen,
perfection.
we did not plan this, but that's how it turned out. That's awesome.
It is the most horror film out of all of David Lynch's work. The most horror out of all the stuff he's ever done. This is a God. It's so good. It's so dark and fucking trippy as hell. I think it's the epitome of David Lynch's work. It's the top of the mountain for me. It's like everything that's good about David Lynch is all right here in this one film.
Yeah, it's my New York family out here is not gonna like what I say, but I've always had this love affair with Los Angeles, man, and I that's why I guess Mulholland Drive and Lost Highway are like rate high with me because being an East Coast person, whenever I'm in LA, I always like romanticize the whole thing, because it's a lot to romanticize about that city, old Hollywood, the Sunset Strip, like, novels, like crime novels, like James Ellroy, the Black Dahlia murders, like that kind of stuff. Like, and this film really has like that magical vibe connected to extreme horror and depression and darkness, and it's like such like a perfect marriage of those two emotions, and both of these films have like some of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life. You got Naomi Watts, you got Patricia Arquette, you got Laura Harring. And what's interesting about those two films, like Lynch likes to play around with like the dark-haired woman and the blonde, and then Patricia Arquette is both.
Yeah.
And it also ties back to people changing identities and traveling into different dimensions and all this kinds of stuff, man.
Dude, yeah, I love the like different dimension type shit. Like first half of the films, like you got certain people playing these people here, what's going on. Then the second half of the film, it kind of flips into like another film almost, with like the body changing stuff that goes on in the jail and stuff. It's fucking wild.
Once again, you got a great cast. I think this is like Balthazar Getty's like finest work in this movie. And we got him, we got Patricia Arquette, we got Bill Pullman, who's like incredible. We have Robert Blake, controversial Robert Blake.
Right, yeah, very controversial.
We got Robert Logia. And he's great, playing like the character you expect him to play, this like wise guy, Italian mafia dude, tough guy sort of character. And the Lost Highway soundtrack, man, is fucking incredible, man. Like, it's got so much great music in this movie.
Yeah, I love the soundtrack, man. That Rammstein song that's on there, oh, so fucking good. That's great driving music too. I mean,
yeah, totally.
The scene in the film too, where she's I think it's towards the end. It's like one of the murders took place or whatever, and you got Rammstein blasting, there's like flames and shit. I'm like, oh, this is so fucking badass.
Yeah, totally, man. And even Marilyn Manson is the song in there is pretty cool. I Put a Spell on You, which is obviously a cover, but I'm not a fan of his music necessarily, but there are things about Marilyn Manson that were kind of cool back in the 90s, like musically.
Yeah.
For sure. And this is one of those things, that this cover, which is in the movie. And speaking of covers, my all-time favorite scene in pretty much any of David Lynch's films is the scene where Balthazar Getty's character sees the blonde Patricia Arquette character for the first time in the garage with the Lou Reed cover of This Magic Moment by the Drifters. It's like in slow motion, and like there's no dialogue, and it's all done with these impressions, like these facial expressions, and just that whole scene is like one of my favorite David Lynch scenes out of all of his movies. And it's like such a beautiful scene, man.
It is. I think if I had to choose like a favorite scene from this movie, it would be the scene in the first half with Bill Pullman walking towards the closet. Like, you think there's something in that closet. It's like the closet's super, super dark. You can't see shit inside that closet. And he like slowly gets closer to the closet, and like the black engulfs him and stuff, man. It's like, yeah, it's kind of scary.
Oh, totally, man. Yeah. That character, the Bill Pullman character, and that version of Patricia Arquette's character, like they live in L.A., which is like never it's sunny all the time. Their apartment is like dark. There's no light. It's like they're wearing black all the time, and everything's black inside the apartment. It's like such a weird dichotomy, between like, I guess when you think of Los Angeles, you just think of like sunlight and people walking around with shorts and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's totally like the opposite of what you would think, for that side of the country. But yeah, that, and also Robert Blake, as they call it, the mystery man, is what he's labeled as there.
Yeah,
and with that camera, fucking, I'm gonna stay in your nightmares, dude.
He's got some of the best dialogue in the film too. He's like, "It's not my custom to go where I'm not invited." It's like, it's once again the dialogue always great in Lynch's films.
Right. And another thing, him never really explaining everything, like it's what David Lynch usually does, and that works perfectly for this film because, like, I don't know who the mystery man is, but I have my own thoughts on what that might be or whatever. So, and he doesn't never explain like who the hell this guy is, like why is he recording everything and stuff. It like leaves it up to your own fucking self to figure it out.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, who do you think he is?
I really don't know. I think he's some type of like maybe interdimensional like record keeper or something like that, possibly, or he could be maybe a demon. I would hope he would be like a demon type thing,
Yeah.
but it's not. Yeah. I just know he's creepy as fuck.
Oh yeah, dude, totally. Yeah, great movie. And
Oh
Bill
yeah,
Pullman never really disappoints me, man. Whenever that dude shows up in a movie, I get excited. I get stoked.
yeah, he's a great actor. I recently watched or rewatched Serpent and the Rainbow again. God damn, the movie's good.
Yeah, man. I've been meaning to rewatch that one as well. You know.
I, I think it's up on Shudder if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, no, it is for sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, man. So that's our list, man. It's cool that we both picked Lost Highway, and this list might change. Next year if you ask me what my top 5 or 6 films are, I might have Mulholland Drive as number one and Lost Highway as number two. But those two are definitely my two favorites for sure.
Yeah, I mean those are solid choices. I think between both of our lists, like the listeners have some, if they haven't seen these films or whatever, they got some really cool homework to get down on.
And if you're someone who hasn't seen any of these movies, dive in, man. This is like where you should check out this list and dive in.
And the cool thing is, there's nothing else like David Lynch films, like all this new shit that's out nowadays. There's a lot of cool stuff, right? But there's no other person doing what David Lynch does. These are gonna blow your mind, and like, yeah, you're not gonna find another David Lynch type film out there right now. So.
And there is a lot of great stuff, man. And I finished watching the Essex Serpent. That's a film. That's a series that you recommended to me. And
No, I think you recommended that one to me.
oh, I
Actually.
did. Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, who the hell told me about it then? Or maybe I found out about it on my own. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, really cool. But I felt like they pulled the old switcheroo on me with that one. I mean, I enjoyed it, but it was built up as being this kind of weird tale. Like they show you, in the introductory part where they have all the credit sequence.
Right.
You see these tentacles and all this, and it takes place on the waterfront, in the UK. You're thinking about sea monsters and like some supernatural, weird tale-esque Lovecraftian thing. And it turns out to be that it's just really a gothic love story, and there's a whale.
Oh man. Oh, okay, I've only made it one episode into.
Oh
And
man, I'm sorry.
I wasn't really
that.
feeling it after the first. No, I wasn't feeling it after the first episode. And I
Okay.
went back to something else. So I never went back to that. So I guess it's kind of a good thing,
Well,
because I was hoping there's gonna be a sea monster in that thing.
yeah, man. Well, just as a word of warning, they kind of trick you a little bit. I mean, it was great. I enjoyed it, but I didn't have my gothic romance hat on. I had my weird tales hat. So just keep that. Be advised, I guess.
I think the best thing on Apple right now, like we already talked about this before, I think earlier on this episode, but we've probably chatted about it, was Severance.
Yes, 1000%.
God,
Man.
man, that's like one of the best shows I've seen in like past couple of years, I think. So.
Yeah, there's so many literary points to that come to mind. Like I think about J.G. Ballard, I think about Thomas Ligotti, I think about all this stuff. Like when I was watching that, and it's fantastic, man. And I think it got a lot of accolades for the first season.
Oh, it did. Like having Christopher Walken in there was just like the best, man. I love seeing anything with Christopher Walken in there.
Oh yeah, and John Turturro too. The two of them together, they had a lot of scenes together, and they were great.
Yeah, they killed it. Their chemistry was fucking great, dude. Like, man, that's like a super group.
Totally, man. So thanks, man. This was a lot of fun, and just let everyone else know out there, if they don't already listen to your show, where they can find you on the internet. All your social handles, like all that kind of stuff.
All right. Yeah, if you haven't checked out my show yet, I run the Horror Wolf 666 podcast, which you can find on any streaming platform, Spotify, Apple, freaking BuzzFeed, not BuzzFeed, Buzzsprout. And that's where, if you go to that link on Buzzsprout, it kind of takes you to all my different links. But I'm on all podcast platforms, Twitter's Horror Wolf 666, Instagram Horror Wolf 666, or Brandon Legion. Either one of those two. And then on Facebook, I have a Facebook page for it, Horror Wolf 666. And also on top of that, I do run a website, which I write reviews and stuff on. And I was doing some written interviews. That is horrorwolf666.com. So you can check that out. I got some pretty interesting films on there I reviewed and stuff. A lot of independent stuff, some like higher grade stuff. But yeah, check those out.
Awesome. One of my dreams is to have all of us do an episode together somewhere, like as an event. You know what I mean? Like, even if it's at like some small bar somewhere, like wherever, like in New York, or just have everyone, me, you, Jackie, you know, Mike, Jeff, just like talk about some topics and just go, and then have that appear on all of our shows.
That would be badass. I'm totally down for that.
Yeah,
so hopefully the apocalypse doesn't come. Yeah,
figure that out somehow. You know.
Yeah, I'm totally down.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, enjoy your weekend, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take it easy.
This magic moment, so different and so new, was like any other, until I met you, and then it happened. It took me by surprise. I knew that you felt it too. I can see it by the look in your eyes. Sweeter than wine, softer than a summer's night. Everything I wanna have whenever I hold you tight. This magic moment, while your lips are close to mine, will last forever. Forever till the end of time. So why won't you dance with me? Hey, baby. Why won't you dance with me? This magic moment, so different and so new, was like any other, until I met you, and then it happened. You know, it took me by surprise. I knew that you felt it too, by the look in your eyes. Sweeter than wine, ooh, softer than a summer's night. Everything I want, I have, whenever I hold you tight. This magic moment, sweeter than wine, softer than a summer's night. So please, baby, so please, save the last dance for me.